In Iran, if you kill or capture a U.S. soldier, you will be paid the equivalent of $30,000 US.
Bounty on American lives.
Offering money for the killing and capturing of American soldiers.
What lends this threat credibility is that it comes from the commander-in-chief of the Iranian army. It is official notice that if you're an American soldier on Iranian soil, you will be hunted. And not just by the regime, but by everybody.
Iranian leaders are more and more talking about revenge and making sure that someone pays for what's happened to Iran.
The timing of these bounties is interesting because they come at a time when both sides are scrabbling at ways to gain an edge in a war that is otherwise deadlocked. But what gives these bounties weight is knowing how they've worked in the past for Iran and how devastating the outcome can be if they're successful. I think most people intuitively understand what it means psychologically to effectively put out a hit on American soldiers. But there's a little more to it than that, because we can also imagine how a bounty like this can really drive action. The actual payout for a kill or capture is in Iranian currency, 5 billion toman, which works out to be somewhere in the ballpark of $30,000 US, depending on the exchange rate, and which is absolutely life-changing money for the average Iranian. Somewhere around half of the country's workforce might make $100 US or less per month. So for them, 30K is 25 years' salary. Some Iranians will go their entire lives without seeing anywhere close to that amount of money.
ما به پشتوانه این عزیزانی که می‌خواهند در جهاد یک هدیه خوب می‌دیم.
And this, as the country continues to struggle with the skyrocketing cost of everything. A simple diet of bread and cheese apparently costs what many Iranians on minimum wage might make in an entire month.
The economy has misperformed for many, many years, and the middle class has been wiped out. Absolute poverty in Iran has increased significantly.
Their cash flow is severely disrupted. So they're really in a desperate position.
And this idea that for a country at war, money might be a powerful motivator to kill, this has immense propaganda value. Do you remember a few months ago when an American fighter jet was shot down by Iranian air defenses?
Intense search and rescue mission happening right now in Iran, with the U.S. military rushing to find an American airman missing after the F-15 fighter jet they were in appears to have been shot down.
2 crew members ejected from that plane, and one of them, the pilot, was rescued fairly quickly, but the other went missing. He was alone in enemy territory, and the Iranian regime knew finding him first could hold incredible strategic value. So they put a bounty on his head, reportedly the equivalent of somewhere around $60,000 US.
God willing, we'll find him, they say. And with high cash rewards, if they manage, the race is on.
The video you're seeing in this Channel 4 News report apparently showing Iranian civilians hunting the American. It was originally broadcast by Tasnim, a semi-official media outlet in Iran closely affiliated with the Iranian government and armed forces. The message here, Americans are high-value targets. Iran will pay for those prizes. Iranian citizens themselves eager to answer the call. And should they succeed,
Iran will use the captured American soldiers as bargaining chips in any diplomatic negotiation with the U.S. It is very adept at this. It's probably the most skilled, experienced political regime in the world at taking hostages and successfully negotiate an outcome for its own benefit.
2 American boats are surrounded and subdued as Iranian Navy cameras record the scene. And then, a few minutes later, the surrender. Images of the 10 U.S. sailors kneeling, hands on their heads, the Iranians in control.
It was a mistake. That was our fault, and we apologize for our mistake.
It's unclear what were the circumstances when the video was taken. U.S. military officials call the video pure propaganda.
The people running Iran right now are trying to mobilize internal support. They're in a war. They're concerned about internal agitation.
It would show that they can defend their borders. They're actually fighting and killing, inflicting damage on American forces. All of this stuff is great for recruitment. It's great for the internal cohesion of the regime.
And in Tehran, you can see how the regime plays to this idea of not just death to America, but also death to Americans. On massive billboards, the skeletal remains of a U.S. soldier, even images of Donald Trump himself, choked by a defiant mob, or his corpse in a coffin. And yes, a bounty has been offered for Trump's head as well. Several of them, as far as I can tell, offering millions of dollars and going back several years, even all the way back to his first term as U.S. president. Now, we have no way of knowing what, if any, impact there is from putting a price on Trump's life. But the threat that underpins the bounty is real, and certainly real enough to continually and increasingly force the president to take extreme countermeasures.
New reporting in U.S. media says President Donald Trump was hidden in an airport catering truck as part of an elaborate security operation prompted by an alleged Iranian assassination threat.
I'm number one on the kill list for Iran.
So we can certainly understand the propaganda value of the bounty and what makes it threatening. But is it realistic? On the one hand, at face value, the offer is lucrative enough to feel that way. I mentioned the reward at $30,000 USD. It's actually double that if the person claiming the kill or capture is a woman.
In the eyes of the Iranian top leadership, if a woman went the distance that way, it really signals a level of loyalty and care for the regime, and therefore it is, worthy of a higher payment.
Iran also has plans to memorialize any weapon used against an American soldier by purchasing it at twice market value while also replacing the one they've just bought, and then putting that weapon on permanent display in a dedicated museum.
Iran, and this regime specifically, has a great deal of experience in memorializing wartime heroics, especially by ordinary Iranians. After the 8-year of the Iran-Iraq War, the same goes with the museum that they put together to celebrate the hostage-taking of American diplomats right after the revolution. That museum is very well known and infamous in Tehran. So memorialization of this sort is something that the regime does routinely.
And of course, it's important to remember that the U.S. has somewhere around 50,000 service members stationed on bases and ships in the Middle East broadly. All of them, at least theoretically, at risk, except, maybe more important than that, not one of them, at least that we know of, is actually on the ground in Iran. That matters, right? Because you have to ask, if you're an everyday Iranian citizen hoping to make 30 grand, where do you find an American soldier exactly? And against what odds?
It's not as though Iranian nationals are suddenly going to be motivated by $30,000 to go and try to attack American troops. They don't have the reach to be able to mount some sort of military operation beyond their borders that would run the risk of capturing U.S. troops. It's not going to happen.
Now, I'm not saying there aren't militia groups out there who could try to take on the task, or that some other American plane might not get shot down again, or that there aren't soldiers or spies or informants that might somehow get sniffed out, hunted, and brought in. But experts seem to agree that the most plausible advantage gained in issuing this sort of bounty on American troops is psychological.
This is meant to be a kind of a deterrent to really send a message of unity and determination to the outside world, that they're willing to fight and pay for the blood of American soldiers. So don't think twice about invading Iran with ground forces.
The Iranians are trying to create the perception in a U.S. audience or an international audience that there is an increased risk to U.S. military members. The Iranians right now are trying to play political fractures in the United States. They're trying to play on public opinion in the United States in order to create political pressure on President Trump sort of to end the war on Iran's terms.
And this is where we can start to see the short-term reward of a bounty translate into a much longer-term play. One that, whether or not a bounty is even ever collected, undeniably raises the threat level for Americans fighting Trump's war. And it forces a very uncomfortable question, as if Iran is saying, we know what American lives are worth to us. What are they worth to you?